Guys, and welcome back to the BudCast server. Today we're going to be looking around and seeing where we can find a new base to build so that we're not chilling here in spawn and annoying the other people on the server. It's been voiced that they're not the most thrilled that I've set up residence here. So, what we're going to do today is explore a little bit and then find our new home and figure out what we'd like to do with it and make it all the greatness that we can. Alright, hope you guys are ready. Hi, so here we are at the place where we found that we are going to be building our base. Our plan is we're going to tear down everything that's already here and try to reuse it in our new build. So, none of my audio saved when we were originally doing this, so we're just going to do a quick speed up of everything that we did. We went and got the beacon and brought it over here so that we could try to do a little of this a little faster and maybe a little more timely. So, trying to organize all of our goodies and everything, but gonna end up tearing down all of the ruined mossy stuffs, try to do some of the archaeological finds as well while we're going through this, but be able to get all the cobblestone and brick. And then as we're doing this, we're going to also use some of the cool create mods in the drill to help clear out some of this a little faster once we figure out the boundaries of what we want to do and try to avoid as much of the mobs as we can. It's a lot of trees and creepers that blow up and chaos, pure and simple chaos. But the idea is we want to kind of make a little castle over here in the middle of this Arctic-ish area that we found. Um, nice spruce biome here, another creeper. But yeah, using a lot of the found things here, gonna end up tearing it all down, making it nice and smooth, and figuring out how we want to make the base. Tried to speed this up so that it wasn't nearly as boring. I feel like cutting out the actual process cheats you guys from seeing the large amount of work that went into making this decision and getting it prepared for the fun that we get to have. I think the ruins is what really made me enjoy this space to begin with. Just looking at it and seeing, all the goodies that there are. I think this kind of structures usually spawns in the water, because right off the cliff of this is also a building that looks about like what's up here. But these all spawned up here, so I'm gonna use that to our advantage and be able to make some pretty awesome looking structures with it. Now that we're getting the last of these trees out of the way, you can start to see how the area is turning out to look and what's left for us to go through. I did a stack of dirt there to kind of give an idea of that upper corner so that I could have a point of reference high enough up. But now that we're getting these trees out of the way, keeping everything down in our chest down there, we're able to have a really decent idea of the amount of space we're going to have as well as what's left to get cleaned up. Started doing some of the dirt removal and grass cleanup by hand, but then realized that maybe there's a better way to do it, so we went ahead and just started to clean up the actual structures and get them out of the way so that we didn't damage anything there. Eating lots of pumpkin pie. But started doing a little bit of these cleanups here and getting the big structures out of the way so that we could work to start flattening some of it. as you can tell from this overhead view, it's starting to clean up and look pretty nice. Still trying to do some of that archaeology and seeing what's in some of that suspicious gravel. Finding a lot of wooden hose. After a while, I think I just get annoyed with it and just give up and just keep going. Get as much as I can done. I think this is our last big structure to get tore down here, and then we can work on getting the last layer, figuring out where we want to consider our base layer and build up and or down, and start to flatten out the land so that we can get a good idea of what's going on and where we want to move forward with it. And here comes the amazing create drill. Just cuts through everything. Just gotta pick it up and reset it. Makes life so much easier. Just need to know where we start and stop, and also make sure we don't have any vegetation. There's a hole in the ground over there that kept catching my attention that wasn't quite sure what was there. Just figuring out what our boundaries are and setting the rails and getting it started and not having enough space cleared. So there it goes again. Tried to stomp on it. Normally you can stomp on accidentally tilled ground like that, and it goes away when you don't want it to, but when you want it to, it just becomes such a pain. It doesn't go anywhere. I cut this footage up quite a bit and sped it up a lot as well, but I think this ended up taking 6-7 hours of gameplay time to go through and flatten this all down and figure out where we needed to be and what the boundaries were. It was it was something, and it would have taken so much longer if we didn't have the create drill and not being able to just buzz through all that dirt. Here I realized that I didn't know where that upper boundary was all the way down to the edge, so did my best to try to dot a line down this way to give it a rough idea of where we're at so that we can clear up to that area. I think the idea is we're going to eventually put a retaining wall along where this border is so that we can make a entry exit gate for our castlescape into the woods there. Here's trying to figure out how far back that is to go and make sure we get it all the way back. I was recording some of this Christmas night and then the next day, so the chests still look Christmas presents. But I think we've got some pretty decent plans going on for what's going to be happening out over here. There's a village I don't think too far away, so might be able to go over and snag a few villagers and build a trading ground or transplant them over this direction to allow us to have villagers at this base as well. Sometimes an idea sounds great in your head, and then you put it into practice and you realize just how much work it honestly is. And that's where I was about this point. We've just about got most of the area flattened now. I found a dog, was able to adopt him. He was kind of hanging around us for quite a while. Finding out that there's something back in this mountain hill area that keeps making all kinds of monstery sounds. Using my create drill really saved on my tools for the most part, but some of it was just easier to handle by hand than trying to figure out how we were going to get the drill to go. There's just so much to get cleared out. Just seemed like it was a never-ending process. I really did like having my bed up by the edge there, because it kept things from coming up and getting me at night while I was sleeping. You'll see there was a purple, or a pig with some little purple stuff coming off of it. That is an illusionist villager guy that was trying to entice me into murdering him so that he could be a pain in the butt. Uh, but now we were able to turn the drill the other direction and see more down into that space and just keep on going. Just moving along. Every little bit having some technical difficulties with it, but probably one of the best and easiest processes. I'm sure you can hear in the background my daughter losing her bananas. She doesn't like it when the bad things come near us and try to attack. You can see me checking the map periodically, seeing how much is left and just verifying that I am actually making progress. It was starting to feel like I was just going in circles and doing the same thing over and over again. Also, while clearing off this dirt, I was making sure to get the cobblestone out so that I could put it in the furnace so that I could make regular stone, so that I could make more stone as needed for when we build the actual castle space and whatnot. So just filling in the dirts back in here, trying to keep everything as lined up and cleaned up as possible. Feel like I was really starting to get into a rhythm here where I was keeping up with it and knowing where we were going and when to stop, and was clearing off that extra little bit that wasn't being hit by the drills here. Head track already laid out so that we could just back up, start again. Just in time for it all to be done and over with. Sometimes Minecraft dogs are just as smart as regular dogs. That time the dog was getting ran over by the drill and just kept whining and standing there. I couldn't believe that he was silly enough to just stay in the way. Clean up my inventory, and then decide that I'm going to go back to the spawn base. And I'm going to gather all of my other pets so that they can travel with me over to the new base, with the exception of the allays. I'm going to have to get those back. Then I also needed water so that I could try to... I was thinking about doing some of the ground and bases of some of the buildings with packed mud. So I needed water, and I was going to plant me some hay, and I got me some hay bales as well. So I got that going, and I got my plot going over here with some of the hay planted. And as I thought about it more, the more I realized that, maybe that's not exactly what we want to do. But I still went ahead and got the plot going, because when we get fully moved over here, we're going to need to be able to plant and use some of the create mechanics to be able to auto harvest like wheat and that kind of stuff. So might as well have one at least field going. And this seemed like the best of places to put it was over here by where we would end up having the gate for our little community base space that goes out into the woods. The cliff over here kind of bothers me. It's really rough cut, and so I tried to make it more naturally looking and swooping and not quite as flush with the cliff side, so that we could put maybe a railing or something up over here to make it more appealing to the eye. So this took me quite a while of back and forth and trying to make sure nobody fell off the cliff while I was doing it pet-wise, and back and forth, trying to figure out what was best and what wasn't. About here I realized that it looked really blocky, worse now than before, so I kind of cut it all off and took it all back and tried to play with it some more, even though the wandering trader was falling down there with its llamas. And this is about the time I realized that there's still rock on the ground that I'm going to have to work on getting picked up. Here I'm trying to flatten this out and build up that last arm from where we'll end up eventually putting that gate up that I want to do. But while doing this, my daughter decided that sleep was not for her and that she needed to uh, protest with me that if I was awake, she could be awake. So there's a few pauses in here where I'm handling the protest. So the BudCast server reboots every night at midnight, and as you can just see there, it was just after midnight when it rebooted. So I'm assassinating mobs while getting back on for the evening and trying to fill in this mysterious cavern while getting the play on here and trying to clean up all this marvelous rock in the ground so that I can put dirt in it. And now that once I get this space cleared here that I can do it, I'm going to end up using the create drill again to be able to dig it in, but just trying to make enough space so that we're capable of running that drill. Still working on doing some resource prep for when we get ready to possibly start building. I don't believe we start that in this series here, this episode. Goodness, words are hard today. But just trying to organize and get all the cobblestone over here in a chest next to the furnaces so that I can easily swap back and forth. So that I can keep it running while I'm digging and getting more cobblestone. Sometimes it's hard to remember that nighttime isn't always your friend, so I started waking up, unsitting more of my pet companions to help keep some of these mobs from being too much of a pain while trying to get as much of this accomplished as possible. And now we're in the home stretch. Just got a few more areas to fill in and to clean up. I think the hardest part was getting all the animals out of the way while trying to fill in this dirt here. There was a few patches that still needed to be done and taken care of, but for the most part, I feel like we did a pretty good job. I'd love to hear some feedback from you, the viewers, of what you would like to see this retaining wall along this edge look like. Do we want to do it in the brick and cobblestone, or maybe something more deliberate like black stone or deep slate? Something that shows that it's intentionally there to be a retaining wall and look the part. I think a lot of the build itself is going to be in the um, stone variety, so cobblestone, stone brick, and mossy of those variants. Um, Not sure what we were going to do for the roof, being that we're in a spruce area. I don't think we're going to go with spruce for the roof, but um, just trying to figure out. I wouldn't say well, I guess that is what it is a color palette. I know there's a lot of people that actually go through and do color palettes and put bricks together beforehand. That's never been honestly how I've felt comfortable building. A lot of it is what feels right in the moment, so it is just starting with what I know I want to use and then what looks best or feels best being added to it. But yeah, please leave a comment for me. Let me know what your feedback is. I would love to hear others' views on what would look good in the future. By this point, I am starting to get super annoyed with the animals being completely in the way. I didn't want to hurt any of them, but at the same time, I was starting to wonder if their common sense was at all a thing. Then, they protect me from a bad thing, and I start to feel better about them. We're so close to being done. Such a relief to know that this is just about over. Now that we have all of the other space finished up, the last task is to fill in here where between our border of the line and everything else is. Now that I know I'm going to have enough dirt left over, I felt comfortable enough going through and getting this filled in. Though for some reason I did not realize how much work I had taken under my wing. I think by this point in time it was close to 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was slowly working on being ready for bed. But I was really proud of the amount of work I had gotten accomplished and how good everything was finally starting to look. I'm also curious as if anybody would want to see anything like this process or just watch me work like this via stream. Uh, it's never been something I've ever done before, but if it's something somebody would like to watch, I'd be more than willing to attempt it and see if it's as fun as others think it would be. I'm really weird with my organization. I laugh at myself with it, but I think we've got just about everything wrapped up and finished. There's just a few little cleanup things and patches, and then I'm not sure what else we do to finish this up. Just filling in the patches and making sure everything is growable if we want them to. I think there was some along the edges of the border that I didn't replace because I knew we were gonna end up putting the retaining wall up there. Well, I think we're just about finished with everything, doing inventory cleanup and putting everything back where it needs to be so that we can find it again later. Um, Now if we take a look here, you'll see from the top what it looks like in our base area. Pretty well just carved out a pretty decent chunk, flattened it all out. There's two yellow squares. One is our beacon pyramid. The other one is our wheat field. Um, the wheat field will end up staying where it is. We'll probably put another field or two around it. The beacon will end up going underground, most likely somewhere in our base, so that we have it out of the way, but also providing all of the things we want. As you can tell, there is a lot of ice around us. We just seem to be in a little spruce biome that's not covered in snow and ice, but I think this will be a great place for us to grow and expand and set up a lot of the create automations. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed, and we see you again with the next episode where we actually plan out what we're going to be doing with the build and actually build it. It was great building for you guys. See you guys next time. Bye.